So the coronavirus is on the ropes in some countries, but let's be clear, it won't go down without a fight. Two major cities are imposing new rules after a spike in cases. Melbourne and Miami relaxed regulations last month. The virus is back. Let's get the latest with my colleague, Michael Marillier. So, Michael, these cities are ones that have already seen a lockdown, but alas, another round of restrictions.
Yeah, absolutely, Dudu. Of course, they endured the lockdown for several weeks, both Miami and Melbourne, and now the restrictions are being imposed once again. And the key lesson there is try to do your lockdown correctly the first time so you don't have the disruption of lockdown round 2. And it seems that a lot of residents in both these cities have been ignoring the rules, and now they're having to suffer the consequences. But let's focus first of all on Melbourne, and we'll explore that experience and what perhaps South Africa can actually learn from it. So this is the number of daily new cases in Australia as a whole. Really interesting here, Dudu, is that they peaked at about 500 new cases in about the middle of March. Those lockdowns came into effect, and as you can see, a big drop in the number of cases on a daily basis. That lockdown really taking effect over April and May. But then the blue part of this graph is where things get a little bit disturbing. So you're seeing there a spike in the number of daily cases, and that is, of course, linked to Melbourne. In fact, as we take that snapshot of the last 2 weeks to do, the vast majority of cases that you're seeing in that particular graph are linked to Melbourne, the spread of the virus in that particular city. And so no surprise then that Melbourne itself has been placed under lockdown. Australia employing a similar system to South Africa, where different parts of the country could be forced to impose a different type of lockdown than the rest of the country. But let's focus on the restrictions themselves, and we'll get a sense of what's going on in Melbourne itself. Around about 5 million people are now facing a lockdown in Australia's second biggest city. And the officials aren't messing around. An entire apartment block was placed on a hard lockdown over the weekend. In other words, they could not leave their homes for any reason whatsoever. So 5 million people now facing another 6 weeks of lockdown. And the politicians are admitting that they got it wrong. This is the Premier, Daniel Andrews. He's admitted that a lot of people in the city simply got complacent, and that's forced them to take these measures.
So that's the outlook in Australia. Let's go to Miami, a popular tourist destination, and they're in their summer right now, and our summer is fast approaching. Any lessons we can draw from that country?
Well, this is interesting because, of course, South Africa should reach its peak by August or September, and then a few months later, of course, the December holidays, it's summer. We spend most of the year inside because of the lockdown. There will be that temptation in South Africa to go out and take advantage of the sun, especially at the tourist destinations. And Miami offers a bit of a lesson, I think, for us. Take a look at this, Dudu. On the 23rd of June, Miami had a total number of cases of about 27,000. Less than 2 weeks later, it was sitting just under 50,000. It almost doubled, Dudu, within the space of 14 days. And perhaps not surprising that the officials decided to reimpose those tough lockdown rules. Let's focus on those very quickly, and I'll give you a sense of the challenge that Miami is now facing. The county, or the area, is known as Miami-Dade. It's home to 2.7 million people. The officials started to relax the regulations around about a month ago, Dudu, but since then we have seen that spike in the number of cases. So what have they done? They've had to ban indoor dining. In other words, restaurants can't operate. They can only serve takeaways or deliveries. A curfew is also in place, running from 10 p.m. to 6 in the morning. And once again, the political leaders saying, yep, we got it wrong. Mayor Carlos Jimenez saying that the spike in cases is clearly linked to opening up of the hospitality industry. And this is really interesting, Dudu. We mentioned the sun and taking advantage of summer. These were the scenes just before the lockdown came into effect in early March in Miami. Ironically enough, this event was known as the Winter Party Festival. So you can imagine if this is what people do during winter, what would it be like during summer? But the mayor is not pulling any punches, Dudu, saying Miami residents better behave or he will close all the beaches entirely. Maybe that's a lesson for South Africa.
It has to be in the behavior, right? It's a collective effort, and we're all in this together, and it's how we behave around this thing. Marillier, always a pleasure. Thank you very much